Sometimes the mind keeps searching for one more answer, long after there is nothing left to solve. This all-night hypnosis is designed to soften that mental momentum and make it easier to drift away from the thoughts that have been keeping you awake. Subscribe to Sleep State Meditation for more calming support on restless nights. For now, leave everything else alone and simply follow the words that come next. You're lying here, tired, but your mind is still running, even though you just want it to stop, like something in you refuses to switch off, no matter how exhausted you are. And it keeps looping, thought after thought, even when nothing needs to be figured out. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your system hasn't been given a clean signal to stop yet. And that's the part most people miss, because the more you try to stop it, the more it keeps itself active. So nothing here is going to ask you to fix that. And nothing here is going to require you to turn anything off. Because the shift that matters doesn't come from effort. It comes from something else beginning to take over quietly. And you may not notice exactly when that starts. But there's a point where the system stops holding everything up the same way. And that point doesn't need to be forced. It only needs the right conditions to begin forming on their own. So right now, nothing is being asked of you, not even to settle, because even the part that hasn't settled yet can stay exactly as it is and still begin shifting underneath that in a way that doesn't require your attention to follow it. Breathing is already happening without needing to be adjusted, and as that inhale comes in, it enters at the same level it always has, and the exhale that follows moves out slightly longer without being pushed. And somewhere inside that longer exhale, there's a small reduction in internal pressure, not something you have to notice directly, but something your system already recognizes. Another inhale arrives, quiet, automatic, and the exhale leaves again, a little more complete than before. And this may already feel familiar, like a place your body can return to without needing to relearn anything. Because once this pattern begins, it's something your system remembers. And each time that happens, there's a slight shift in how much the body is holding, even if the mind hasn't caught up to that yet. Even if something is still moving in the background, because that movement doesn't stop the body from beginning to lower. It just means it hasn't realized it can stop yet. And that realization doesn't come from thinking. It comes from repetition, from the body receiving the same quiet signal again and again. Inhale arriving, exhale leaving, longer. And with each longer exhale, the nervous system begins reducing how much it prepares. Less readiness, less scanning, less holding. Even if the surface layer hasn't fully changed yet, something underneath is already shifting its baseline. And that's where the process actually starts. Not in the thoughts, but in the systems that no longer need to stay on alert. Another inhale, arriving without effort, and leaving again, longer, slower, and after it, there's a moment where nothing needs to happen next. Not even the next breath being tracked, because it will arrive whether it's followed or not. And that's where a small gap begins forming. Not empty, but unoccupied. And in that gap, there's less structure holding everything together the same way. And as that continues, the body starts reducing its internal signals. Muscles holding less tone, circulation evening out, heart rhythm staying steady without needing adjustment. And even if the mind is still partially active, it begins losing influence over what the body is doing, because the body doesn't need permission to start powering down. It only needs consistency. Inhale arriving, exhale leaving, longer. And again, the system receives the same signal. Nothing urgent, nothing required, nothing changing that needs intervention. And slowly, without needing to be tracked, the amount of internal effort begins decreasing. Not all at once, but enough that something starts letting go of its position. And even the part that's still active doesn't have to be removed, because it begins losing energy on its own. As the body continues shifting downward underneath it, breathing steady, inhale, exhale, longer. And after that exhale, the system holds at a slightly lower level. Not dramatically, but enough that the next inhale doesn't need to carry the same load. And that's how the descent begins, quietly, without needing to be noticed, continuing on its own, with less involvement each time. And as this continues, there's already less for your mind to keep organizing. There's already less for you to keep track of. Not because anything has been removed, but because the system isn't holding things in the same way anymore. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving, quiet, automatic, and the exhale leaving, longer, without effort. And somewhere inside that longer release, the body reduces how much it prepares for the next moment. Less anticipation, less internal movement, less need to stay engaged. Even if something is still forming in the background, it begins losing its structure, because the systems that support it are no longer fully active. Another inhale enters, steady, unchanged, and leaves again, longer, more complete. And after it, there's a moment where nothing builds immediately. No follow-up, no continuation required. And that's where more space begins to appear between thoughts. Not because you made it happen, but because the mind is no longer linking everything together with the same force. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving, exhale leaving, longer. And with each cycle, the system lowers its baseline slightly. Not all at once, but enough that the next moment doesn't carry the same intensity. Muscles remain at rest. No signals rising that require engagement. The face still. Jaw loose, without holding. And deeper within, internal rhythms remain steady. Heart rate even, circulation smooth. And even if something tries to form again, it doesn't hold in the same way, because the system underneath it has already shifted. Another inhale enters, soft, unforced, and leaves again, long, complete. And with that release, there's less internal pressure to continue anything, less need to finish, less drive to resolve, because resolution isn't what allows the system to lower. It's the absence of demand that does it. And that absence is already beginning to spread. Through the body first, before the mind fully recognizes it. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving, exhale leaving, longer. And after it, the system holds at that same level. steady, unchanged. No need to move upward again. No reason to return to the previous level. Everything remaining within this quieter state. And as that continues, the edges of thought begin softening, not disappearing, but losing definition. Less clarity, less structure, less continuity between one moment and the next. Another inhale enters and leaves again, long, steady, and in the space that follows, there's less forming automatically, because the system no longer supports that same level of activity. And even if something begins, it slows before it fully develops, as if the momentum isn't there anymore. Breathing continues. Inhale, exhale, longer. And with each longer exhale, the nervous system reinforces the same signal. No urgency, no requirement. And that signal continues repeating, not as something you have to think about, but as a state your body can keep recognizing, a familiar way of lowering, a familiar way of letting the night carry you. One that the body begins holding on its own, without needing to be maintained. And as that state stabilizes, there's less involvement from the parts that used to stay active. Less monitoring, less checking, less returning to unfinished loops. Because the system is no longer feeding them in the same way. Another inhale arrives, quiet, minimal, and leaves again, longer, more complete. And after it, the pause holds, not empty, but settled, familiar, safe to remain inside. And within that settled space, there's nothing requiring continuation, nothing pushing forward, and even the sense of needing to follow anything begins reducing on its own, as if the system is gradually stepping back, allowing everything to remain where it already is, without needing to adjust it. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving, exhale leaving, longer. And again, the system lowers slightly. Not enough to be measured, but enough to be maintained. And that's where the shift continues. Not through effort, but through repetition. Each cycle reinforcing the same condition. Each release reducing what was being held, until there's less left to continue at the same level. And as that continues, the system no longer needs to return to where it was before, because it has already settled into something else. And as this continues, your mind is already doing less on its own. There's even less forming automatically now. Not because anything has been forced to stop, but because your mind is no longer continuing things the same way. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving, soft, minimal, and the exhale leaving, longer, more complete. And within that longer release, the body reduces its internal activity again. Less signal moving through the muscles. Less readiness held in the chest. And even deeper, the internal systems begin maintaining this level without adjustment. Heart rhythm steady, unchanged. Circulation even, smooth. And as that stability holds, the need to follow anything begins fading further. Not all at once, but enough that the next moment doesn't fully connect to the last. Another inhale enters, quiet, automatic, and leaves again. Long, steady, complete. And after it, there's a gap that stays a little longer than before. Not something to hold, but something that remains on its own. And inside that space, there's less definition to what was previously forming, less continuity, less structure connecting one point to the next, because the system is no longer maintaining that connection. It's allowing things to remain separate and incomplete. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving. Exhale leaving longer. And with each cycle, there's a further reduction in internal engagement, not just in the body, but in the processes that were linking everything together. So even when something begins, it doesn't fully build. It slows and then softens before it becomes anything complete. And that's where the shift deepens, because completion is no longer necessary. Another inhale enters and leaves again. Long, complete, and after it, the system holds. Steady, unbroken. No return upward. No reactivation forming. Everything remaining at this same level. And as that continues, there's less distinction between one moment and the next. Not merging, but no longer separating clearly, as if the edges are becoming less defined, and the system is no longer marking transitions the same way. Breathing continues. Inhale. Exhale. Longer. And with that exhale, the remaining tension in the body lowers again. Shoulders fully inactive. Arms resting without weight being held. Hands still. Fingers loose, without engagement. And across the chest, there's no pressure building. No need to adjust breathing. Everything continuing automatically. And even deeper, the systems that used to respond quickly begin slowing their response time. Not delayed, but no longer immediate, as if the urgency has already been removed. Another inhale arrives. Quiet, minimal, and leaves again. Long, steady, and after it, there's less forming in that space than before. Fewer connections, fewer continuations, because the system is no longer supporting that level of activity. It's maintaining this lower state instead. And as that state stabilizes further, this begins to feel more familiar to your system, like a way of settling it can return to without effort. There's less distinction between holding and releasing, because most of what was being held has already reduced. Breathing continues. Inhale, entering. Exhale, leaving. Longer. And with each longer exhale, the system reinforces this same level again. No need to increase. No reason to return. Everything sustained without effort, without monitoring, without adjustment. And even the sense of tracking anything begins fading further into the background, as if it no longer needs to remain active. Because what matters is already continuing on its own, in a way your body can trust and return to again, whenever it needs this, without needing to be followed. And as this continues, your body is already staying at that lower level on its own. There's less distinction between what begins and what fades. Not merging, but no longer separating clearly. Breathing continues. Inhale, arriving, quiet, reduced, and the exhale, leaving, longer, settling deeper. And with that longer release, the system reduces even more of what it was maintaining. Less tone through the body, less internal signaling rising, and what remains doesn't need to change. It only continues. Another inhale enters. Soft, automatic, and leaves again. Long, complete. And after it, the system stays where it is. No upward movement returning. No re-engagement forming. Everything remaining within this same reduced state. And as that continues, there's less structure holding internal processes together. Not gone, but no longer fully connected. So when something begins to form, it softens before it completes, and then fades without needing to resolve. Breathing continues. Inhale, arriving. Exhale, leaving, longer. And with each longer exhale, there's a further release of internal pressure. Not noticeable in detail, but present in how little is being held. Muscles remain fully inactive. No engagement returning. No signals rising through the limbs. The face remains still, jaw loose, without tension, eyes resting without adjustment, and deeper within, the systems that once maintained alertness continue stepping down. Less monitoring, less response preparation, less readiness held in the background. Another inhale enters and leaves again. Long, steady, and after it, the pause holds. Not empty, but settled, familiar, easy to remain in. And within that steadiness, this begins to feel safe to remain inside, with nothing required from you, nothing pushing forward, and even the sense of needing to follow anything continues fading, as if it's no longer supported by the system, because what used to maintain that movement has already reduced and continues to lower without effort. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving. Exhale leaving. Longer. And again, the system stabilizes at that same lower level, not dropping suddenly, but remaining consistently reduced. And as that consistency builds, there's less variation from one moment to the next, less change to track, because everything continues within the same narrow range. Steady, unbroken, unchanging. Another inhale enters. Quiet, minimal, and leaves again. Long, complete. And with that release, there's even less held than before. Less internal activity sustaining anything. So even when something begins to form, it doesn't continue the same way. It softens and then dissolves before completion. And that pattern continues, not through effort, but through the system no longer supporting continuation. Breathing steady. Inhale. Exhale. Longer. And after that exhale, the system remains where it is, without returning upward, and without needing to lower any further, because this level is already enough for your body to continue on its own, in a way it can return to again whenever it needs this. And as this continues, your body is already staying in that same quiet level. There's less difference between holding and releasing, because most of what was being held has already reduced below where it needs to be noticed. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving, minimal, quiet, and the exhale leaving, longer, slower. And with that longer release, the system settles further into automatic regulation. No correction required. No adjustment forming. Another inhale enters and leaves again. Long, steady, complete. And after it, there's less forming in that space than before. Not empty, but inactive. And that quiet begins spreading, not outward, but inward, in a way that feels safe to let happen. Through the systems that used to maintain movement, now no longer needing to continue it. Muscles remain fully inactive. No signals rising through the body. No engagement returning to the limbs. The chest stays soft. No pressure building. Breathing remaining steady without intervention. And deeper within, the internal processes continue slowing their transitions. Not stopping, but no longer moving quickly enough to connect clearly. So when something begins, it doesn't complete, it reduces, and then fades before forming anything stable. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving, exhale leaving, longer. And with each cycle, the system reinforces this same condition. No urgency. No continuation required. Another inhale enters. quiet, minimal, and leaves again. Long, complete. And after it, the pause holds at the same level. Unchanged, familiar, easy to stay within. No rise, no shift back. Everything remaining within this reduced state. And as that continues, there's less internal differentiation, less separation between one process and another, as if the system is no longer dividing experience into parts, but allowing everything to remain within a single level of quiet. Breathing continues. Inhale, exhale, longer, and with that longer exhale, there's a further reduction in what is being sustained. Not something you track, but something the body maintains automatically. The shoulders remain fully released, arms resting without weight being held, hands still, warm, inactive, and deeper within. The background activity continues lowering. Less processing, less internal referencing. So even when something attempts to continue, it doesn't have the support to do so. It slows and dissolves before it completes. Another inhale enters and leaves again. Long, steady, and after it, the system remains at this same level. No need to change. No need to move. Everything continuing without direction. And as that continues, there's less awareness of transitions. Less recognition of when one moment becomes another, because those transitions are no longer marked clearly. They soften and remain incomplete. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving, exhale leaving, longer, and with that release, the system maintains this same reduced level again. Consistent, unchanging, and that consistency removes the need for further adjustment, because nothing is shifting outside of what's already stable. So everything remains within the same quiet range, in a way your body can return to again whenever it needs this. And as this continues, your body is already remaining in that same steady level. There's even less distinction between what is active and what is not, because the system no longer separates those states the same way. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving, quiet, minimal, and the exhale leaving, longer, slower, more complete. And with that longer release, the system settles into an even deeper level of automatic control. No monitoring required, no adjustment forming. Another inhale enters, soft, unforced, and leaves again, long, complete. And after it, there's less forming in that space than before. Not empty, but fully inactive. and that quiet remains without needing to be maintained, in a way that feels safe to stay inside. Muscles fully released. No engagement returning anywhere in the body. No signals rising through the limbs. The chest remains soft. Breathing steady, without change. And deeper within, the internal systems continue reducing their responsiveness. Not stopping, but no longer reacting in the same way. As if the threshold for activation has moved further away. Another inhale arrives and leaves again. Long, steady, and after it, the system remains at this same level. Unchanged, familiar, easy to remain within. No upward movement returning. Everything continuing within this reduced state. And as that continues, there's less internal differentiation, less separation between one process and another, as if everything is being held within a single quiet layer, with no need to distinguish parts. Breathing continues. Inhale. Exhale. Longer. And with each longer exhale, the system reinforces this same condition again. No urgency. No continuation required. Another inhale enters. Quiet, minimal, and leaves again. Long, complete. And after it, there's even less forming than before. Fewer connections. Fewer continuations. Because the system no longer supports that level of activity. And as that continues, there's less awareness of internal movement, less recognition of anything shifting, because nothing is changing in a way that needs to be noticed. Everything remains within the same narrow range. Steady, unbroken, unchanging. And even when something begins to form, it doesn't continue. It softens and dissolves before it completes. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving. Exhale leaving, longer. And with that release, the system holds at this same level again. No movement upward. No shift back. Everything sustained without effort. And as that steadiness continues, there's less distinction between moments, less separation between one point and the next, as if the system is no longer marking transitions at all, because it no longer needs to. Another inhale enters and leaves again. Long, steady, And after it, the system remains at this same level, without change, without variation, everything continuing on its own, in a way your body can return to again whenever it needs this. And as this continues, your body is already staying in that same steady state. There's even less to distinguish between what was and what is, not because anything has changed, but because nothing is being marked the same way anymore. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving, quiet, reduced, and the exhale leaving, longer, settling further. And with that longer release, the system remains where it is. No upward movement returning. No increase forming. Another inhale enters. Soft, minimal, and leaves again. Long, complete. And after it, there's less forming in that space than before. Not empty, but without continuation. And that quiet holds, without needing to be maintained, in a way that feels safe to remain inside. Muscles remain fully inactive. No engagement returning. No signals rising through the body. The chest stays soft. Breathing steady, unchanged. And deeper within, the internal systems remain at this same reduced level, not lowering further, not increasing, just continuing as they are. And even when something begins to form, it doesn't complete. It softens and dissolves before becoming anything stable. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving. Exhale leaving, longer. And with each longer exhale, the system reinforces this same state again. No urgency. No need to continue anything. Another inhale enters. Quiet, minimal, and leaves again. Long, steady, and after it, the system remains unchanged, familiar, steady, unbroken, easy to stay within. No variation forming. And as that steadiness continues, there's less recognition of transitions, less awareness of one moment shifting into the next, as if the system is no longer tracking change at all, because nothing requires tracking. Everything remains within the same level, consistent, unchanging, and even the sense of needing to follow anything continues reducing as if it no longer has a function here. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving. Exhale leaving. Longer. And with that release, the system holds at this same level again. No movement upward. No return forming. Everything sustained without effort. And as that continues, there's less distinction between holding and releasing. Because what remains is already at rest. No tension maintained. No activity building. Just continuation at the same level. Breathing steady. Inhale. Exhale. Longer. And after that exhale, the system remains at this same point, without change, without variation, everything continuing on its own, in a way your body can return to again whenever it needs this. And as this continues, your body is already staying in that same quiet level. There's even less to separate what is happening from what is not. Not merging, but no longer forming distinct edges. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving, minimal, quiet. And the exhale leaving, longer, slower. And with that longer release, the system remains fully within this reduced state. No upward movement. No reactivation forming. Another inhale enters. Soft, unforced, and leaves again. Long, complete. And after it, there's no continuation building in that space. Nothing forming to follow. Nothing needing to resolve. And that quiet holds without effort, in a way that feels safe to stay inside. Muscles remain fully inactive. No signals rising through the body. No engagement returning to the limbs. The chest stays soft, breathing steady, unchanged, and deeper within. The internal systems remain at this same level, not lowering further, not increasing, just continuing as they are. And even when something begins, it doesn't complete. It softens and dissolves before it becomes anything stable. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving. Exhale leaving. Longer. And with each longer exhale, the system reinforces this same condition again. No urgency. No continuation required. Another inhale enters. Quiet, minimal, and leaves again. Long, steady, and after it, the system remains. Unchanged, familiar, steady, unbroken, easy to remain within. No variation forming. And as that steadiness continues, there's less awareness of transitions, less recognition of anything shifting, as if the system is no longer marking change at all, because nothing requires it. Everything remains within the same narrow range, consistent, unchanging, and even the sense of needing to follow anything continues reducing, as if it no longer has a function here. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving, exhale leaving, longer. And with that release, the system holds at this same level again. No movement upward. No return forming. Everything sustained without effort. And as that continues, there's less distinction between holding and releasing, because what remains is already at rest. No tension maintained, no activity building, just continuation at the same level. Breathing steady. Inhale, exhale, longer. And after that exhale, the system remains at the same point, without change, without variation, everything continuing on its own, in a way your body can return to again whenever it needs this. And as this continues, your body is already staying in that same unchanging level. There's even less to separate one moment from the next. Not merging, but no longer forming clear transitions. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving, quiet, minimal, and the exhale leaving, longer, slower, and with that longer release, the system remains where it is. No upward movement returning. No re-engagement forming. Another inhale enters. Soft, unforced, and leaves again. Long, complete. And after it, there's no continuation building. Nothing forming to follow. Nothing needing to resolve. And that quiet holds without effort, in a way that feels safe to remain inside. Muscles remain fully inactive. No signals rising anywhere in the body. no engagement returning to the limbs. The chest stays soft, breathing steady, unchanged. And deeper within, the internal systems remain at this same level, not lowering further, not increasing, just continuing as they are. And even when something begins, it doesn't complete. It softens and dissolves before becoming anything stable. Breathing continues. Inhale, arriving. Exhale, leaving. Longer. And with each longer exhale, the system reinforces this same condition again. No urgency. No continuation required. Another inhale enters. Quiet, minimal, and leaves again. Long, steady, and after it, the system remains unchanged, familiar, steady, unbroken, easy to remain within. No variation forming. And as that steadiness continues, there's less awareness of anything shifting, less recognition of transitions, as if the system is no longer tracking change at all, because nothing requires it. Everything remains within the same narrow range, consistent, unchanging, and even the sense of needing to follow anything continues reducing, as if it no longer has a function here. Breathing continues. Inhale, arriving. Exhale, leaving. Longer. And with that release, the system holds at this same level again. No movement upward. No return forming. Everything sustained without effort. And as that continues, there's less distinction between holding and releasing, because what remains is already at rest. No tension maintained, no activity building, just continuation at the same level. Breathing steady. Inhale. Exhale, longer. And after that exhale, the system remains at this same point, without change, without variation. Everything continuing on its own, in a way your body can return to again whenever it needs this. And as this continues, your body is already remaining in that same steady state. There's nothing forming that needs to carry forward anymore. Not because anything has been finished, but because continuation is no longer being supported. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving, minimal, quiet, and the exhale leaving, longer, slower, more complete. And with that longer release, the system remains fully within this reduced state. No upward movement, no return forming. Another inhale enters, soft, unforced, and leaves again, long, complete, and after it, there's no continuation building in that space. Nothing forming to follow. Nothing needing to resolve. And that quiet holds, without effort, in a way that feels safe to remain inside. Muscles remain fully inactive. No engagement returning anywhere in the body. No signals rising through the limbs. The chest stays soft, breathing steady, unchanged, and deeper within. The internal systems remain at this same level, not lowering further, not increasing, just continuing as they are. And even when something begins, it doesn't complete. It softens and dissolves before becoming anything stable. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving, exhale leaving, longer. And with each longer exhale, the system reinforces this same condition again. No urgency, no continuation required. Another inhale enters. Quiet, minimal, and leaves again. Long, steady, and after it, the system remains unchanged, familiar, steady, unbroken, easy to remain within. No variation forming. And as that steadiness continues, there's less awareness of anything shifting, less recognition of transitions, as if the system is no longer tracking change at all, because nothing requires it. Everything remains within the same narrow range, consistent, unchanging, and even the sense of needing to follow anything continues reducing, as if it no longer has a function here. Breathing continues. Inhale arriving, exhale leaving, longer. And with that release, the system holds at this same level again. No movement upward. No return forming. Everything sustained without effort. And as that continues, there's no distinction left between holding and releasing, because what remains is already fully at rest. No tension maintained. No activity building. Just continuation at the same level. Breathing steady. Inhale. Exhale. Longer. And after that exhale, the system remains at this same point without change, without variation, everything continuing on its own in a way your body can return to again whenever it needs this.